If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be good for Hamas. And it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. And it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. And it will not be good, frankly, for anyone.
Well, this is something unexpected. I think we should expect the unexpected these next 4 years with Trump in office. But apparently he is forcing Netanyahu to come to an agreement, a hostage agreement between Israel and Hamas. And he apparently strong-armed. Now, this is surprising because as he was campaigning and shortly after he won the election, he was saying things about Hamas better release the hostages or all hell's going to break loose. In fact, watch this.
Aren't back. I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be good for Hamas. And it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is.
Yeah, so all hell was going to break loose. All of us were thinking, great, it's just Biden 2.0. Miriam Adelson was able to buy him for $100 million, and now Israel just basically owns the country and they could do whatever they want. But then we saw some strange developments before we get into the actual hostage agreement that it seems to be coming down the pipeline right now. Shortly after Trump starts talking strongman like this, Palestinians better watch out is what it sounds like. He then shares on his Truth Social this video clip of, this is of Jeffrey Sachs. And he retweets this or retruths it, I guess is what they say. But watch this video he shared.
The war in Syria. And you may actually hear from grown-up reporters who are lying through their teeth or ignorant beyond imagining that, oh, the war in Syria, yes, Russia intervened in Syria. Well, do you know that that Obama tasked the CIA to overthrow the Syrian government, starting 4 years before Russia intervened? What kind of nonsense is that? And how many times did the New York Times report on Operation Timber Sycamore, which was the presidential order to the CIA to overthrow Bashar al-Assad? 3 times in 10 years. This is not democracy. This is a game. And it's a game of narrative. Why did the U.S. invade Iraq in 2003? Well, first of all, it was completely phony pretenses. It wasn't, oh, we were so wrong, they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. They actually did focus groups in the fall of 2002 to find out what would sell that war to the American people. Abe Shulsky, if you want to know the name of the PR genius. They did focus groups on the war. They wanted the war all the time. They had to figure out how to sell the war to the American people, how to scare the shit out of the American people. It was a phony war. Where did that war come from? You know what? It's quite surprising. That war came from Netanyahu, actually. You know that? It's weird. And the way it is that Netanyahu had from 1995 onward the theory that the only way we're going to get rid of Hamas and Hezbollah is by toppling the governments that support them. That's Iraq, Syria, and Iran. And the guy's nothing if not obsessive. And he's still trying to get us to fight Iran this day, this week. He's a deep, dark son of a bitch, sorry to tell you, because he's gotten us into endless wars, and because of the power of all of this in the U.S. politics, he's gotten his way. But that war was totally phony. So what is this democracy versus dictatorship? Come on, these are not even sensible terms.
Wow. Wow. Trump shared that on his Truth Social. He shared that. So look, I guess you could spend $100 million on the Trump presidency, but it's not going to change his perception of Netanyahu and Israel and what they've been doing. Really, really amazing. Then we get this report coming in the pipeline that, and this started coming out yesterday, that Stephen Witkoff, who is the Middle East envoy, Trump's picked for the Middle East envoy. He's a Jewish businessman, a Jewish real estate investor and developer. He doesn't have the background of diplomacy that one might normally have. And he apparently is known for speaking unusually aggressively. Well, apparently, this is according to Haaretz, says last Friday evening, Stephen Witkoff, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's Middle East envoy, called from Qatar to tell Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's aides that he would be coming to Israel the following afternoon. The aides politely explained that was in the middle of the Sabbath. but the prime minister would gladly meet him Saturday night. Witkoff's blunt reaction took them by surprise. He explained to them in salty English that Shabbat was of no interest to him. His message was loud and clear. Thus, in an unusual departure from official practice, the prime minister showed up at his office for an official meeting with Witkoff, who then returned to Qatar to seal the deal. So Witkoff is in Qatar, then he's in Israel, trying to get a negotiation going for the hostages to be released, for there to be a hostage agreement. Trump said all hell will break loose if the hostages aren't returned by the time I take office. That means 1 week from now, the hostages, there needs to be some movement on this. And Witkoff basically said, I mean, I'm guessing with salty English saying the Shabbat was of no interest to him, that what he said was, I don't give an F about Shabbat. He better get his ass in here. And Netanyahu obeyed, which makes me wonder what else he said, what else Witkoff said, like, otherwise we're cutting off weapons, or what sort of stick did he use against Netanyahu to get him motivated to actually show up to his office on Shabbat. So, also, it goes on to say, let me just read a little bit more from this. It says, a week before Trump's inauguration, Jerusalem already sees a change in the rules of the game that has broken the deadlock in the hostage negotiations. Unusually, the outgoing Biden administration has let Witkoff lead the process on the grounds that any obligations the United States undertakes will be incumbent on Trump, not on Biden. So Biden's happy to give Trump the credit. He's allowing the diplomacy process to start under the Trump administration, even though Biden is still technically president. And there's some movement here. So really, really interesting. This takes me by surprise. I think we should all be, I mean, should we be, I'm surprised. Trump is a mercurial guy. We never know what to expect. This is a welcome surprise. Really nice to see him sharing that Jeffrey Sachs video, blaming Israel for getting us into all the wars in the Middle East. And really good to see that this negotiation is coming forward, and looks like it may or may not be actually one that actually comes to fruition. Also, this report came out that from the Times of Israel that Netanyahu, and this was shortly after Trump, one day after Trump shared that video of Jeffrey Sachs accusing Israel of starting all the wars in the Middle East, particularly Netanyahu was the guy who did it. We get this report that Netanyahu is unlikely to attend Trump inauguration, hasn't had an official invite, however. So there were some reports that Netanyahu came out and was like, his team came out and said he's not going to be going to the inauguration, that he has canceled his trip. But the reality was he wasn't even given an invite. So that, goes to show that there's something going on here between these two.
What's your thoughts? Please be respectful with your comments. Also, please click the like, click the notification bell, and subscribe to this channel.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14 verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was the... Jacob had 12 sons. For real, and these were the children of Israel, according to Genesis chapter 10. These were the children of Israel, according to Genesis chapter 10. These were the children of Israel, according to Genesis chapter 10.